時々考えるんだ。
私って何者？
できることなんてあるの？
私、期待外れなのかな？
普通じゃないのかな？
このままでいいのかな？
全部無視できたらいいのに。
私、浮いてる？
もっと馴染んだ方がいいのかな？
ここにいちゃダメなの？
みんな注目。今日は転校生を紹介します。
みんなに好かれなきゃ。
我慢しなきゃ。
気にしないふりしなきゃ。
関係ないじゃん。学だけ大事なのよ。このこと一緒にしないで。
今までずっとそうだった。それが当たり前だって思ってた。でもそんなことないかもね。
ないね。
ないでしょ。
ありえないって。
いつか誰もが
ありのままに生きられる
世界になるって？
でもそんなの待ってられないよ。
Judgement is a huge problem not only in school but in Japanese society overall, which means group bullying in English. This ad has been accused of being anti-Japanese. It shows 3 teenage girls of mixed race and immigrant background being bullied at school in Japan. Nike said the video was based on real testimonies of young athletes. The company sponsors mixed-race tennis player Naomi Osaka, who also had to deal with racial insensitivity in Japan. Racial discrimination is rampant in Japanese society not only for zainichi, which means Korean descendants in Japan, but also for different race or mixed-race descendants in Japan. As you see, this Nike commercial video received shockingly over 70,000 dislikes from angry right-wing Japanese netizens. They insist there is no such discrimination in Japan, so it's only anti-Japanese. It's funny for them to say that their right-wing Japanese deputy PM Asotari, so-called trash talk machine, enjoying to say genocide officially at the parliament, such as to kill all Koreans if a war happens again. African-Japanese tennis star Naomi Osaka, who is surely in the Nike commercial, has been suffering from bouts of depression. And she is honored to become the last Olympic torchbearer at the opening ceremony of Tokyo Olympics. Though the world ranking number 2 tennis star who is mixed race, it's so good to show Japan is a racial discrimination society. Since she was born between her father from Haiti and her mother from Japan, she has suffered from racial abuse in Japan. When she comes out as to be the final torchbearer, she is appreciated to be a personality in order to embrace diversity in the Olympics. However, when she's lost and disqualified early at the stage of tournament on 27th July, the situation turns over dramatically. The public opinion in Japan has gotten called down on her, while Japanese expect gold medal from her. A Japanese commenter wrote on a news section on her, "I still can't understand why she was the final torchbearer. Although she says she is Japanese, she can't speak Japanese very much." And this harshly insensitive remark is given over 10,000 thumbs up in Japan. Medalist bouquet becomes the hot issue since Tokyo Olympic Committee says those flowers come from Fukushima. They insist the flowers are safe and secure, so there's no worries that South Korean government overreacts on it. However, Japanese media recently revealed honey products from Fukushima has tremendous session over the safety standard, and those Fukushima honey products are already provided to Olympic athletes dinings and over markets in Tokyo. Of course, those honey are made by busy bees over flowers in Fukushima, and they say it's safe. South Korean government sets up the cake for the serving center for safety issues, but Japanese government strongly criticizes it. Now at this point, who's overreacting? While Japanese government is busy blaming the cake center for South Korean athletes for not eating Japanese food provided. Here comes shocking news reveal tens of thousands of Japanese food packages for Olympics are thrown away into trashes. For the reasons the Japanese government makes an excuse it has been already ordered so it's unable to cancel it. What a lame excuse for incapable Japanese government, while they claim pro-environment Olympics with tons of food wastes. However, the Japanese government put all the energy and criticism upon South Korea's food center in order to hide their colossal mistakes. In Tokyo Olympics, they provided paper bags for athletes, which has already been ridiculed by most of the athletes. The Japanese government says it can sustain up to 200 kilograms, but it seems much weaker than it's supposed to be. The Japanese government says a paper bag costs whopping over $2,000, but it seems its quality doesn't meet the price. American athlete Paul Shalima says those who appear on the bed are at risk here. Once the carton box is where the bed pours over, it is sucked if it's the night before finals. At this point, I'll have to start practicing how to sleep on the floor, cause if my bed collapses and I have no training on sleeping on the floor, I'm done. The New York Post estimates it with sarcasm that it's anti-sex bed. Moreover, it's so small to slip on for international Olympians, even though it may be a good enough size for some Japanese. When a South Korean Olympian uploads his broken paper bed saying please go one more week till the end of games, Japanese netizens suddenly turn hostile on it, rather than other athletes criticize the manners of bed. Israeli baseball players test how strong the paper beds are. As it turns out, definitely not very strong. Thanks to Hironobu Abe, who is the schemer of these paper beds, CEO of cardboard packaging company from Mitsubishi. Who is brother of former Japanese PM Shinzo Abe. Can you smell something? Dear God, how much money rolled in for that? So small is not only paper beds but also bathrooms in the Alice village, as Russian volleyball players complain. A Canadian tennis player posts a photo of remote control written only in Japanese asking for help. Those small-sized paper beds less than normal single-sided beds are not the only thing ridiculed for athletes' butts. A Russian fencing team coach outburst the Olympic village is not the 21st century in Japan but in the medieval ages. Russian media reports no TV, refrigerator, air conditioner there, and Japanese government says athletes must pay for it to get them. What a fantastic way to rip off money to be proud of Japanese hospitality, which Japanese call it omotenashi. Another problem is about cleaning clothes. For must-use laundry services, it takes 5 days or over weeks, so athletes now manually clean and dry their clothes themselves. The laundry service at the Olympic Village is too late, and they often lose athletes' clothes, so complaints are skyrocketing. As you can see, there is a huge difference from Pyeongchang Olympics South Korea in 2018. At the time, Samsung donates hundreds of washing and dry cleaning machines for free for all athletes to use. While foreign athletes are having disastrous times at the Olympic Village, hundreds of Japanese athletes use another hotel, which is high-quality Ajinomoto hotel with big beds, TVs, refrigerators, air conditioners, fine dinings, and corona-free. Japanese media Kyoto reports Japanese athletes with high possibility for medals will stay in a hotel outside of Olympic Village. In principle, all the athletes must stay in the Olympic Village. However, Tokyo Olympic Committee claims some Japanese athletes will stay in the hotel for COVID-19 safety and security. While over 20,000 international athletes are in danger of COVID-19 and patients keep increasing at the Olympic Village, Japanese government must be heavily criticized of negligence on safety for international athletes rather than Japanese athletes due to the increasing number of COVID-19 infectees at the Olympic Village. American women's gymnastics team has one member infected and can't trust the quarantine at the Olympic Village, so they decide to get out of there and stay in a hotel for better security. Japanese government's big picturesque strategy for medal ranking standings seems working quite well at the halfway to the end. For the triathlon game at ODAIBA Beach would be reportedly the biggest shame in the history of the Olympics. Here at the ODAIBA Beach, a triathlon game was cancelled 2 years ago due to the extreme stench exceeding E. coli bacteria. However, Tokyo Olympic Committee insists to hold the Olympic triathlon games here at ODAIBA Beach. It may seem nice from the far view, but when you look closer, you can see how dirty the water is. International media strongly blames Tokyo's pushing decision that Bloomberg points out that swimming venue stinks, and the Fox News Australia comment swimming pool fears of sewage leak in Olympic venue. Tokyo says that they're fixed up with sand and oysters, but seems not working quite well. And there's shocking suspicion that the sandbag used for ODAIBA Beach come from Fukushima Disastrous sites. In spite of concerns, the controversial game started, but there comes another problem. Mismanagement by Tokyo Olympic Committee, a director boat blocks away about half of the athletes. So they had to start from the beginning, and some of them have already swum hundreds of meters, unfortunately. As you can see, the water doesn't look clean at all, but it's brownish color, to be honest, literally pool water. Also called the nice view at the ODAIBA Beach to show that Tokyo's decision makes athletes suffer in the pool water. Plus, the athletes have to drink all the pool water filled with exceeding E. coli bacteria over safety level while swimming. And the result is that at the end of the games, many athletes begin vomiting all the way up. And the Japanese right-wing netizens make excuses that vomiting often happens at the end of triathlon games. Well, they may be right, but the only problem is there are too many of them. Again, look at the pool water pouring out and let them make excuses as much as they want with proud omotenashi. During World War II, German Nazi flag and Japanese rising sun flag are used for their military to invade and massacre. International media such as CNN, The Guardian, etc. strongly criticize Japan's plan to use a rising sun flag at the Olympics. And their plan even goes to the US White House petition to ban the Japanese rising sun flag at the Tokyo Olympics 2020, and it received over 100,000 signs for the call for official action. But since IOC members has received too much hospitality from Japanese government rather than Olympic athletes, IOC makes a laughable decision the Rising Sun flag to be used at Tokyo Olympics is not political, so a lot of views. So South Korean athletes team put on flags to protest, which used the famous remark of Red Admiral Sun Shin-lee of Korea. Japan's right-wing government got hooked up on the bait to protest the South Korean remark flags to the IOC members. The IOC members requested to remove the remark flags, so South Korean government agreed on one condition not to allow the Rising Sun flag into Olympic Games, which is political. So South Korean government officially received documents to ban it.
심판진이 소개가 되고 있습니다. 일본이 15대 10입니다. 받아냈어요.
네, 네.
객가로 대한민국의 득점으로 연결됩니다.
끝까지 집중력 좋습니다.
이 상황인데 보시죠. 상대 선수는 맞았고 우리 선수 안 닿았어요.
안 나왔죠.
김일성 선수 안 닿았습니다. 이게 안 되냐 이런 이야기인 것 같고요. 근데 보시죠. 상대 선수는 맞았고 우리 선수 안 닿았어요.
안 닿. 이런 상황에 흔들리면 안 됩니다.
네. 스파이크! 케냐의 득점 역전을 허용하고 말았습니다.
절대 포기하지 말자. 할 수 있다라고 받았고, 근데 그 말처럼 정말 기적같이 오늘 기분이 좋습니다.